Humans, the tall alien's voice crackled through the comms, disbelief tinging its synthetic tone. Yes, came the cold response. Humans. And yes, you're about to learn why every hunter in the galaxy dreads them. The invaders had set their sights on Earth, believing it would be the easiest conquest in the galaxy. Dorth, the leader of the alien force, stood at the helm of the flagship, his mind racing with the weight of their underestimation. The stories were real. Humans were no ordinary prey. They had heard the legends of human ingenuity, their bizarre ability to adapt, and their relentless will to survive. But they hadn't taken it seriously. Now, they were about to pay for their mistake. A brilliant flash tore through the expanse of space as Dorth's ship fired its weapons, targeting a human military base. They had expected to wipe it out effortlessly, but their initial victory was short-lived. The instant the first blast erupted, the ship trembled violently under a barrage of sudden explosions. Alarms blared through the corridors. What just happened? Dorth demanded, gripping the controls with white-knuckled intensity. Sir, they're firing back. We're under attack from the surface, came the frantic report. The military base, far from defenseless, had transformed into a hornet's nest of unexpected retaliation. A special unit of elite human soldiers, known only to a select few as Spec Ops 9, had been stationed there. They had been briefed about a potential invasion, but no one had expected it to happen so quickly, so violently. The invaders, thinking they could easily overwhelm the humans, had no idea that they were walking into a meticulously prepared trap. What the aliens had intended as a simple strike had turned into a desperate struggle for survival. Humans, they fight like beasts, muttered Dorth's second-in-command, his voice heavy with frustration. We should have sent more ships. Enough, Dorth snapped. We finished this now, but it was no longer a simple mission. As the aliens made their way toward the base, they were met with an unrelenting series of ambushes and traps. Spec Ops 9, led by Sergeant Michael Cole, moved like phantoms, silent and swift, outmaneuvering the aliens at every turn. They were in control, and they knew it. You wanted us, huh? Cole's voice crackled over the comms, dripping with confidence. Welcome to Earth. You've just poked the hornet's nest. The aliens quickly realized they were in a fight they weren't prepared for. Under the cover of night, humans blended into the shadows, ghosts who seemed to appear and disappear at will. Each time an alien ventured into an open space, they were met with a hail of gunfire, grenades, and carefully laid traps that left the invaders disoriented and reeling. The aliens had thought humans would be easy to subdue. Now, they were learning the hard truth. One alien, a massive creature with 6 arms, charged recklessly into an open clearing, only to be blindsided by a human soldier who emerged from the brush, unloaded a clip into its chest, and vanished before the alien's body could even fall to the ground. Dorth stood in stunned silence as his forces were torn apart. They had expected to face a weak, primitive race. Instead, they were up against a species that fought with every ounce of their being, a species that refused to follow the rules of warfare. Get us down there now, Dorth barked, his fists clenched with growing frustration. We need boots on the ground. We've underestimated them, and this has gone on long enough. The landing craft descended from the flagship, kicking up a thick cloud of dust as it touched down. The ramp dropped, and a dozen of Dorth's elite shock troops, encased in high-tech battle armor, charged onto the base. They were met with a storm of gunfire almost immediately. One of the shock troopers went down, and the others quickly returned fire, but the humans had already vanished into the darkness. Every shot from the aliens missed by mere inches, as the soldiers of Spec Ops 9 blended seamlessly into the environment. Cole, crouched behind a nearby rock, aimed his rifle with deadly precision at the invaders. Hold steady, boys, he muttered under his breath. They have no idea what's about to hit them. The shock troops advanced, firing frantically in all directions, but the humans weren't pursuing them. They were waiting, setting a trap, drawing the aliens deeper into a game of cat and mouse. Where are they? One of the shock troops asked, scanning the barren landscape. I can't see anything. They'll show up soon enough, Dorth replied, trying to mask his frustration. They can't stay hidden forever, but the humans weren't about to give themselves away. Cole's team had already placed several explosive charges around the landing craft, and as the aliens continued their advance, they were about to learn the hard way just how deadly humans could be. Move up, Cole ordered his team with a quick hand signal. The charges detonated in a deafening explosion that sent a shockwave through the area. Dorth's forces were thrown off balance, crashing to the ground as the alien ship, its shields crippled, shuddered under the force of the blast. Their initial assault had failed before it even began. Sir, the ships are compromised, came the voice of Dorth's second-in-command through the comms. We're losing our advantage. You're not going anywhere. Cole's voice crackled through the comms once more. Earth's just getting started. The aliens, still reeling from the explosion, scrambled to regroup, but the humans were already on the move, their advantage growing with each passing moment. Dorth's flagship hovered above, scanning for any sign of human activity, but the ground had transformed into a deadly labyrinth of traps. Every step the aliens took seemed to lead them further into danger. "They've booby-trapped everything," one of the soldiers muttered, his voice tense as he surveyed the rocky terrain. "There's no clear way forward." Dorth's patience was wearing thin. His forces had come here expecting an easy victory, but instead, they were staring down a complete humiliation. "They're everywhere," Dorth growled, gripping the edges of his command chair with his claws. "Move out. Flush them out. We cannot lose this." His troops advanced, moving closer together in an attempt to cover every angle, but doubt was creeping in. The human soldiers, scattered across the shadows, had the upper hand. They were a constant, invisible threat. Sergeant Cole surveyed the scene through the scope of his rifle. The aliens were tough, no doubt, but they were predictable. He'd seen it before, the hesitation, the way they moved cautiously, unsure of what came next. They couldn't adapt to the chaos that surrounded them. "L-teams, hold position." Cole's voice rang out through the comms, calm and measured. "We've got them right where we want them." In the distance, a dozen alien soldiers emerged from behind a corner, weapons raised, but before they could even aim, the ground beneath them erupted in a violent explosion, throwing them into chaos. A series of smaller mines, strategically planted by Cole's team, detonated all around them, forcing the invaders to retreat and regroup. "Sir, we've got incoming," a soldier shouted from the command post, but Dorth was already on the move. He clenched his fists, activating his personal shield, and stepped onto the battlefield himself. Encased in his formidable armor, he advanced toward the source of the explosions, his every step resonating with the urgency of the situation. Behind him, the remaining shock troops followed. There was no turning back now. They had to engage. Meanwhile, Cole's team had spread out, taking up positions in the rocks and buildings of the human base, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Their rifles were trained on their targets, eyes scanning every movement, anticipating the moment when the two forces would collide. Dorth's eyes narrowed as he approached, his troops still formidable but beginning to feel the strain. "We've faced worse," he muttered under his breath, but even as he moved forward, he felt it. Something in the air was different. The humans weren't fighting with the predictable, conventional tactics they had expected. There was something deeper, something raw in their approach. Their tactics were fluid, unpredictable, and it felt as though they were everywhere at once. The hunter was starting to feel hunted. Suddenly, a single human soldier darted across Dorth's line of sight, a blur too quick for him to track. Dorth swung his arm to fire, but the soldier was already gone. "Damn it," Dorth snarled. "They're faster than we anticipated." His soldiers fired relentlessly into the empty landscape, but the humans remained elusive. They moved like phantoms, always one step ahead, outsmarting and outmaneuvering the invaders. Then, without warning, a series of brilliant lights flashed across the sky, a signal. The humans were ready. Cole had synchronized the attack. With flawless coordination, human forces converged from multiple directions, launching a devastating assault that caught the aliens completely off guard. Dorth spun around, his shield flaring to life as human fire ripped through the alien ranks. His troops were pushed back, but they weren't prepared to surrender. They fought fiercely, their weapons flashing in the dim light. "You cannot win," Dorth shouted, but his words were lost in the chaos of the battle. The humans didn't respond with words. They responded with action. Cole led the charge from the front, rifle blazing with controlled fury. Each shot struck its mark, downing one alien soldier after another invader who had underestimated Earth. Cole ducked behind cover, checking his ammo as the pace of the assault quickened. The human soldiers moved with precision, seizing every opportunity. When they had a shot, they didn't miss. A deafening boom echoed across the field as another alien shock trooper was obliterated by one of Cole's grenades. The explosion was ear-splitting, but the humans were already regrouping, moving faster and more efficiently than ever. "You're losing," Cole's voice cut through the comms, cold and unrelenting. "And you won't make it out alive." Dorth's pride shattered as he watched his forces crumble. He had underestimated them, underestimated humanity's ability to fight, to adapt, to rise against impossible odds. Now, with his troops scattered and his command in chaos, he realized the catastrophic mistake his fleet had made. "Fall back," Dorth ordered, his voice tinged with defeat. The pressure had become too much. "All units, retreat to the ships." "We're leaving," Dorth ordered, but it was too late. The human forces were already closing in, and every attempt to pull back was met with fierce resistance. There was no way out. Cole's team was everywhere, and the invaders were beginning to realize the truth. No matter how advanced their weapons or how hard they fought, they would never win on Earth. The retreat quickly descended into chaos. Once confident and arrogant, Dorth's forces were now scrambling for cover, with human soldiers pushing in from all sides. The alien fleet, hovering above like a silent threat, was powerless to help, rendered immobile by the sheer brilliance of human strategy and relentless resolve. Dorth growled, his claws digging into the dirt as he barked commands. Fall back to the landing ships. Move, move. But the humans were faster. No matter which direction the aliens turned, another ambush awaited them. Traps carefully set by Spec Ops 9 were closing in, and the invaders couldn't adapt fast enough. They couldn't counter the ingenuity of the humans. Cole crouched low behind a stack of crates, his W-scope scanning the battlefield. Through the lens, he could see Dorth, a towering figure amidst the chaos, trying to rally his troops toward the landing crafts. The alien general was desperate, firing wildly in every direction as he tried to lead his forces to safety. Cole checked his watch. The ship was already beyond repair, but the aliens were still determined to escape. He tapped his comms. "This is it, boys. We finish it here." His team acknowledged, and in moments they mobilized, closing in on the retreating invaders. The trap was set, and the aliens had no idea they were walking straight into it. Dorth, blinded by panic, didn't see the series of mines hidden around the landing area. The explosives, buried beneath the surface, were triggered by the smallest movement. Trapped in an ever-shrinking space, the aliens had no choice but to move forward into their doom. "Move faster," Dorth hissed, his voice frantic, but his orders were swallowed by the deafening explosions. The ground trembled beneath him as the first set of mines detonated. Alien soldiers screamed, their bodies flung high into the air as the earth tore apart under them. Dorth's heart raced as he watched his troops fall. His once proud soldiers were now scattered, their armor shredded, their weapons useless against the trap set by the humans. One alien, desperate to escape, darted toward the nearest ship, but in its haste, triggered another explosive charge. The ship's landing ramp, what had been the last hope for the remaining invaders, erupted in a fiery explosion, sending debris flying in all directions. Cole's voice came through the comms, cold and confident. "Not so fast." Dorth spun, his eyes narrowing as he searched for the human commander. The pressure was suffocating. The walls were closing in, and the arrogance that had once fueled him now felt like a distant memory. The pride that had led him to Earth, to this humiliating defeat, was slipping away like sand through his fingers. From the shadows, Cole stepped into view, his rifle trained on Dorth. His face was calm, focused, and his every movement radiated control. "Game's over," Cole said, his voice steady, but with a finality that left no room for doubt. "I'll give you one last chance," Cole said, his voice cold and unwavering. "Leave now, or you won't leave at all." Dorth's glare could have cut steel, his fangs bared in rage. "You think you've won? You think you've outsmarted us? We are the apex predators of this galaxy." Cole didn't flinch. "And yet you're running from a bunch of humans." The so-called apex predator had barely lasted 5 minutes on Earth. "That's what happens when you underestimate humanity." Dorth took a menacing step forward, raising his shield, preparing for the final confrontation. "We will come back," he snarled. Cole chuckled, not out of amusement, but out of something darker, something far more dangerous than the alien could comprehend. "You won't be back because you won't survive. Humans don't forget." Dorth's armor flared as he swung a massive fist toward Cole, but the soldier ducked and rolled to the side with swift precision. He let out a sharp whistle, and in an instant his team opened fire. The barrage hit Dorth from all directions, the blasts shaking his shield and armor. The alien general staggered, his confidence faltering for the first time since the battle began. He wasn't the apex predator anymore. He was just another hunter about to be caught in a trap. Cole's team closed in, moving with the precision of a well-oiled machine. Each man knew their role, each man with the same objective: survive and make sure the aliens never forgot who they were dealing with. The final blow came from a grenade expertly lobbed by one of Cole's men. It landed just behind Dorth's shield, exploding in a deafening burst that sent the alien general flying backward. His armor cracked and burned, and for the first time in the battle, Dorth collapsed to the ground, struggling to rise. Cole approached, rifle still trained on Dorth's chest. "Get up. Show me what makes you the apex predator." Dorth tried to push himself up, but the weight of his defeat was too much. His shield flickered weakly, then failed entirely, and he fell again. "Humans don't need to be the strongest," Cole said coldly, stepping forward. "We just need to be smarter, faster, and better prepared. And you, Dorth, just learned that lesson the hard way." The alien general's eyes burned with fury, but his body no longer obeyed. His once proud forces lay shattered around him, and the battle was lost. Cole turned to his team. "We've won. Let's finish this." As the last of the alien invaders were captured or eliminated, the human soldiers stood victorious on the battlefield. The invaders would never forget the lesson they'd learned on Earth. The galaxy galaxy's most feared hunters had been humbled by the most unexpected of predators. The last of the alien ships, crippled beyond repair, limped into the sky. Its crew, beaten and broken, had learned a brutal truth. The war for Earth had been decided, and the humans had proven, once and for all, that they were not to be underestimated.